Joining us from Bangladesh. So this session is actually an introductory session for all of you guys who want to get themselves into working with Power BI. So that is what this is just not. This will not just be one session. So there we have planned for 4 sessions with Azan. So first session will be based on data modeling with data sets, and I will be giving you a brief overview in our plan for the next 3 sessions as well. So I will be showing you around. So let's get started. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Thimantha Vidanagamage. I love working with Microsoft Data Platform technologies such as Microsoft Power BI, Azure Analysis Services, and Azure Data Factory. So the most important thing out of all the details that you see in the screen right now is my Twitter handle at Thimantha. So please follow me on Twitter at Thimantha. Right. So talking about the training sessions that we have planned, so we have 4 training sessions planned so far related to Power BI. So in this particular session, what we'll be covering is basically how we can refer to a respective data source and how we can build a data model with Power BI datasets. And basically, that will be the output that will be coming out from this session. So the next session that we have planned is the session 2. So in session 2, I'll be using the same data model that I will be developing in this session. And what I'll be doing is I'll be showing you guys how to do some advanced data modeling with the use of data flows for data preparation and some few advanced data modeling concepts stuff as well. I'll be showing you out. I'll be showing you guys in the session 2. So that will be covered up in the session 2. And if we move into the session 3, we'll be moving into the session 3 with some advanced data modeling knowledge. And also after using the Power BI data flows, and also basically after having a solid and a simple data model to proceed with the data visualization. So in session 3, what I'll be doing is I'll be using the same data model that I had created with the use of data flows for data preparation and some advanced data modeling techniques. I'll be using the same data model, and what I'll be doing is I'll be referring to that data model, and I'll be showing you guys how to engage in data visualizations, how to visualize the data in Power BI. What are the best practices of visualizing the data, and what are the things you need to consider, and all of that. So moving into the looking at the 4th session. So by when the 3rd session is done, you guys will have a simple proper data model, and you guys will have a report that's created with visualizations in Power BI. And what we'll be focusing on next is basically how we can convert these reports, how we can refer these visualizations in the reports, and how we can create dashboards, and what are the features and functionalities that are available in the dashboard, right? And along with that, I will also be covering some workspace management techniques, like how do you add users, how do you manage Power BI gateways, stuff like that. So basically all about and how do you create Power BI apps. So stuff like that will be covered in this session as well. So that is basically the training sessions that we want to take you guys through. And by the end of this session, you guys will have a good understanding of Power BI and an overall understanding of how you can basically build a solution with Power BI. Also, adding up, so what I thought was, like, after these 4 sessions, I thought of doing a session for as an introductory session for DAX as well. So DAX is a pretty important language in terms of data modeling. So it's called data analysis expressions. So basically we'll be writing all the basically it's required to write complex modeling logic in order to perform your analytics. So I'm thinking of a session for that as well, so that you guys have an entire picture of in terms of how you can take your career further. So those are the sessions that we have planned so far. So let's move right into. So today we'll be focusing on this session one, which will be entirely based on the data modeling with Power BI data sets. So if I go to the agenda for today, firstly, we will look at basics in data modeling with Power BI. And afterwards, I'll be showing you how to engage in data modeling with Power BI datasets. So those are the key stuff that I'll be covering up in this session. So this session is, I think, for about 1 hour. I have planned it for 1 hour. So you guys should get a good understanding of that. And I have no intention to like rush you guys, rush over the demos as well. I want to do it slowly so that you guys can understand it well. And in case if we run out of time, and maybe we can plan out another session as well. So I just want to take my time and make sure that you guys get the actual value of these sessions and you guys can accelerate in your careers. Right. So that's the agenda. And afterwards, what I want to tell you is that this particular book, which is a data warehouse toolkit, which is a definitive guide to dimensional modeling. It's actually a book by Ralph Kimball and Margie Ross. I hope I pronounced that name right, but it's basically the co-author is Ralph Kimball, as far as I know. So what happens so in this session, I might take you through a bit of data warehousing concepts, right? Like facts, dimensions, star schema, snowflake schema, stuff like that. I will be explaining you a bit about these sessions, these concepts in data warehousing, which will be required for data modeling. I'll be explaining them to you guys, but I will not be going into I will be not be going into detail since this session is all about Power BI. So I'll be just brushing up those areas as well so that you will get a better understanding. But in case if you want to look into detail of those concepts I'm talking about, you can always refer to this book. And the most important in this book is the first 3 chapters, and afterwards you can also read the rest of the chapters. It's about all the data warehousing and BI data warehousing solutions, like how you should engage in different kind of solutions for different kind of domains will be covered in the rest of the chapters. So basically, the first 3 or 4 chapters, as far as I remember, cover all these core concepts that are required for data warehousing and therefore required for data modeling as well. So just pay attention to this book, guys, if you don't understand anything. And of course, you guys can ask me anything. And you guys can connect with me with LinkedIn or any simply LinkedIn, and you can provide me. You can ask me anything and I can help you out. That's available as well. So that's just an overall of the session and building some context about this session for you guys. And let's move right into the session now. The first thing that we need to know is what is a data model, right? So a data model is also known as a semantic model. So this is specifically used for analytical purposes by the end users. So end users are usually business users in an organization or company who are engaged in data-driven decision making. So that is to whom we'll be catering this session for. So in this session, there might be business users who might be consuming data models, and there might be developers as well. So it caters a portion of this all these 4 sessions to different types of users who are engaged in data-driven decision making and developers as well. So it focuses on different basically different audiences. It caters on different audiences, and it's a really good thing for every audience as well. So that they have a bigger picture in terms of like what's really happening and how the solutions are built, right? So that's just uh, about what data modeling is, what a data model is, and basically what whom it is catered for. And there are two types of data models. One type of data model is called tabular data models, and the other type is called multidimensional data models. So previously, it was just multidimensional data models. Then later on, tabular models came up. So tabular models are a lot more compressed compared to multidimensional data models. So, but still, multidimensional data models are still being used in the industry for various solutions, for various basically BI and data warehousing solutions. Tabular data models is what we will be focusing on in this session, because Microsoft Power BI only allows you to develop tabular data models. You can only connect to multidimensional data models that are created in SQL Server analysis services with Power BI. You cannot develop multidimensional semantic models or multidimensional data models in Power BI. So so in this session, we'll be focusing on tabular semantic models. So you can say tabular data models. Right. So we just got an overall understanding of data models now. And next we'll look at the concepts of a data model. There are two very basic concepts. So the first concept is fact tables, right? So fact tables are basically tables with numerical figures that consist some kind of measurement that shows that consists of some kind of a measurement. For example, sales. It could be units sold. Yeah, basically sales quantity, sales amounts, basically stuff like that. Invoice quantity. Yeah, sorry. So basically, it's all about this table is used to store numerical values, and those numerical values can be related to can leverage a specific level of performance, and basically showcase a specific level of performance in a specific component, right? So let's just look at the definition that's given in the book that I just showed you previously, which is the Data Warehouse Toolkit book by Ralph Kimball. So in that, what it says is the fact table in a dimensional model stores the performance measurements resulting from an organization's business process events. So that's basically it, right? It just shows the numerical figures which has some performance measurement and in a specific business process. So I hope you guys are clear with what a fact table is. Then afterwards, we have the dimension. Right. Dimension is like an aspect of looking at a fact table, right? Basically, dimension tables consist of all the descriptive text and the descriptive content that adds meaning to the fact tables. So let's quickly look at the definition of what it's how it is explained how it is quoted in the data warehouse toolkit book. So what it says is the dimension tables are integral companions to a fact table. The dimension tables contain the textual context associated with the business process measurement event. Right. So basically, if you don't understand what it says, basically keep in mind that dimensions are just an aspect of looking at a fact table, and basically they add meaning to the fact table. Basically, for example, a fact table can have cells, right? And a dimension table can be region, and regional cells can be analyzed with the combination of facts and dimensions. You can understand for which region you have which kind of sales figure. So that's what it basically says. So if you guys don't understand, yeah, basically it's fine. You will get what it means when I'm actually doing the demos, and you will simply understand what this is all about. But just keep these meanings and concepts in mind, which are really important for you guys when moving further. Right. So we looked at the basic concept of fact and dimension in a data model, and now it's time for us to look at the model design. So there are two ways to design a model in basically in Power BI or even in SQL Server Analysis Services or Azure Analysis Services or any kind of environment like that. There are two ways in which you can basically design models, right? One way is a star schema, and the other is a snowflake schema. So the star schema is all about, it basically forms a shape of a star where the fact table will be right in the middle and the dimension tables will be surrounding the fact table. And this is highly optimized for querying and for analytical purposes. And it is not normalized to the lowest level. So it is not normalized to the lowest level, which is resulting in that kind of a good performance, right? Snowflake schema is like an extension of a star schema. And basically what happens is the same concept happens. The only thing is that the dimensions will have other dimensions that are referred to that specific dimension. So in other words, normalization will be carried out to the lowest level with snowflake schema and will not be carried out to the lowest level with star schema. So you will get what this is all about by the visualization in the next slide. So in the left hand side now, it's a star schema, right? You can see it clearly. So you have the sales fact table right in the middle. Then you have dimensions surrounding that fact table. So you have the time dimension, you have the item dimension, location dimension, and branch dimension. So 4 dimensions together. So as you can see, there's a fact table right in the middle, and it forms a shape of a star. And basically, it's a very simplified model, right? It's a very simplified model to understand, and it's a model that is highly optimized for querying as well. So I think with this visual, you can clearly understand the meaning of dimensions and facts as well. You can see the fact table right in the middle. It has basically numerical figures and the keys to join to the other dimension tables. So the numerical figures here are dollars sold and units sold, right? And the keys, you can see them in top with underscore key in front of that. And basically they are referring to dimension tables. So the dimension tables have the other attributes or the other textual content to add meaning to these dollars sold and units sold, right? So for example, with a model like this, you can see which city or in which country has the highest number of dollars sold or highest number of units sold or lowest number of units sold or dollars sold. So like that, which branch has the highest number of dollars sold, lowest number of dollars sold, and basically which time period has the highest number of dollars sold, units sold, and yeah, basically you can do all types of slicing and dicing from this, and basically you can basically take your business decisions by looking at a model like this when it's developed. And that is star schema for you. I think now with this visual that I just showed you, you have a clearer understanding of fact tables and the dimension tables as well. And the next schema, my next model design I want to show you is the snowflake schema, right? This is in the right hand side, you can see the snowflake schema. So it is pretty much similar to the star schema, but you can see that the location dimension has been extended after being normalized to the lowest level, a location and the item dimensions. So item dimension has another dimension called subtile, which is an extension, right, with the normalization that happened. And location dimension is referring to a dimension called city dimension, which is an extension of the normalization that happened with the location dimension. So that is basically star schema and snowflake schema for you side by side. I hope you guys can understand the difference between these two model designs. So in this session, what we'll be looking at is a star schema, because star schemas are easy to understand, and basically it's easy to understand and for anyone to understand without any problems. Snowflake schemas are a bit complex, so and it is a bit time consuming to demo and develop a snowflake schema as well. And for your information, snowflake schemas should be implemented only if there is a specific requirement for that by the client, right? Always you should try to stick with a star schema model design, because it is highly optimized and it is the most suitable for analytical purposes. So hope you guys have a good understanding of what a data model is, what a fact table is, what a dimension table is, and what star schema and snowflake schema are. Right. So we just covered the basic theoretical concepts that you need to know in order to continue understand this training session further. And now let's look at the model that I'll be using for this training session. So for this training session, I have just built a very simple model. I have built a very simple model design. This is a star schema model design. And basically you have 3 dimensions. One dimension is the calendar dimension, and the other one is the product dimension, and the other one is the customer dimension, right? We have 3 dimensions as you can see here. And basically you have the main fact table on right in the middle, which is the sales fact table. So 3 dimensions and 1 fact table will be developing this with Power BI datasets from a blank Power BI file into this model, right? So that's what we'll be doing in this session. And the source for this dataset is the 2017 AdventureWorks OLTP database. So it's really easy for you guys to get that, and you just need to, the source will be a SQL Server source. So what you guys need to do is I'll show you that as well. What you guys need to do is basically Google in AdventureWorks 2017 database, right? So I had searched that out previously, and basically it's the first option you get right here. Click on it, and when you click on it, you should go to the OLTP databases that are available and just click on the AdventureWorks 2017 back file. So after you download the back file, just restore the back file. This is pretty big, so I'll just cancel that. So after you download the back file, just restore the back file in SQL Server, and from there onwards you can continue with this demo appropriately. Anyway, nothing to worry, guys. I think Asan will be like hosting this up in YouTube. So what you guys can do is, if you guys can't set this up right now, you guys can listen, and after this is uploaded to YouTube, you guys can follow up in this session, right? So that's what I wanted to show you guys there, and let's get back to the session. So regarding the session now, when we are doing the data model development, the firstly we need to develop the dimension tables, right? Because The dimension tables are referred by the fact tables for specific keys, right? So you will get what I mean when I'm like doing the demo. So just keep that in mind. First thing that you should usually do in a normal scenario is basically develop the dimension tables, not the fact tables first. Fact tables should be developed at last. Uh, because you have to refer these respective keys. So you will get what I'm saying in the from the dimension demos and the fact table demos. So firstly, we have a dimension demo, which is the calendar table demo, or you can say the date table demo. That will be the first dimension table that will be developing. And for that, I will get a blank Power BI desktop, Power BI desktop file. I had opened that and I had gone to this as well. So I'll just cut this out. Sorry about that. Yeah, basically just open a blank Power BI desktop file. So I hope you guys know how to download a Power BI desktop into your machine. So one way is to download it to the Windows Store, and the other way is that you can basically Google in and download it. So there are two ways. So the advantage of going with Windows Store is that you don't need to regularly update, right? So it will update by itself whenever you close and open Power BI desktop. So since Power BI has very regular updates, monthly updates, it's always good to stick to Windows Store. But if there is any restriction for you guys to not use Windows Store, you can always just Google in and just download Power BI desktop as usual. Right. So I have my Power BI desktop file here, and first thing that we'll be doing is we'll be creating a simple calendar table, right? So to create a calendar table, we are not referring to any source. We are developing it in Power BI desktop as well. And for you guys to know, this Power BI desktop file, this model that will be developing in this Power BI desktop file, will be a Power BI dataset once it is uploaded to Power BI service, once it is published to Power BI service, right? So basically what I'll be doing now is I will be referring right into, I'll be creating the first date table. So let's get right into that. So to create the date table, you will need to go into new table under modeling tab. So you have home, insert, modeling, view, help, external tools. So under the modeling tab, click on the new table option, right? When you click on the new table option, you should get a bar on top like this, which basically says table equals. So basically you need to write the dash logic here to create the calendar dimension. So I'll be keeping this DAX logic simple as possible so that anyone could understand rather than going into any complexity. So and talking about these date dimensions, there are multiple ways you can create that. You can create that with Power Query as well without using DAX. And you can create that in the source itself as well if it's required. But just to keep it, I personally feel that the simplest way to create this dimension table is with the use of DAX and as a calculated table. Basically, this basically in here as a calculated table. So I'll be doing that. First thing is for table, you just need to provide the name of your dimension. So I will
Hasan bhai, there's no sound. Can you please check? Yeah, I am talking with Thimantha on WhatsApp.
Son, sorry, I just faced a power cut where I say so. I think you guys might have not got any response for a while. Sorry about that. Hello.
Oh, it's okay.
It's okay.
Okay. So I hope right. So I hope you guys can see my screen right now.
Yes, we can see. We can
Right.
see.
Nice. Nice.
We can see.
Okay, so I will just continue from where I stopped. So I was creating the calendar dimension. So for that, I was just using the modeling tab, and in the modeling tab, I was using something called new table option. Right, you see right here, and I will click on the new table option, and I will just replace the table with appropriate table name. I would call it calendar. And afterwards, what I'll be doing is I would be writing my DAX function. Now, this DAX function is not really very complicated. What you do is basically you call in the calendar function. You can Google in the calendar function and see what it is all about. And but it's a very simple function. So the calendar function is used to like list the dates in a specific range in a table. So that's what it is actually used for. So you can see when I just use that function, the purpose of that function appears there itself, returns a table with one column of all dates between start date and end date. So yeah, so basically let's do that. For that, we'll have to suggest a start date. So the start date that I'll be providing, so I'm not really sure what's the history of adventure work. So I will just give it 2010 first. So this is actually, this function, date function, is used to convert the numerical figures into dates, as you can see here. So I had just entered the year, month and day, and it will convert it into a date, right? So that's how I do it there. Then afterwards, what I'll be doing is I'll be using a function called today, right? In here to basically list in all the dates from 2010 January 1st to today, right? This is something you have to implement in your real solutions as well, in your industrial solutions as well, because basically when the data is incrementally added, so basically when the data increases day by day in your data source, from your data source, you need to make sure that your date calendar table is updated as per the requirement, right? Basically to fit in with the respective dates. So for that, let's in this situation, I'll be just using the today date. Today, which returns the current date. Basically, as I told you previously, I am loading here the dates between 2010 January 1st to today, which is 2021 July 3rd, right? And you can have a look at that table in the tabular in the data view. So you have different kinds of views in Power BI. And I guess I explained this to you previously in my session in the Power Platform Bootcamp as well. So you have data view, you have model view, and you have basically, I think, yeah, this is called report view. Sorry about that. Yeah, report view. And basically, those are the three views. You just need to know what it does. You don't need to know these terms appropriately or anything. Just know what it does and what it shows in. So that's the most important thing in your developments and when you are carrying on with Power BI. Yeah. Okay. So I had, as you can see, I can see a list of dates for this table, and I have a table called calendar right now. And I need to bring in, firstly, I need to mark this table as a calendar table. And before that, I need to convert this date time into date, right? Because in a calendar table, it should always be date. It can't be date time, right? Anyway, there's no time involved in here. So what we'll be doing is we'll be just clicking on the column that we created and in the table that we created, and we'll be just going, when you click on it, options will appear saying column tools, an option will appear saying column tools, and inside column tools you can see right in here an option called data type here. So in data type, it says date time. Don't say it's date times. Just use the drop down and select date, right? And it will be showing a textual format, but to convert it into a numeric format, you can always use the format date format option right on top. And basically select a date format that you prefer. So in this case, I'll use this format. And there you go, you have the date all set up. And the next thing to do is basically you need to add columns that you need to bring in month, and you need to make in day, and you need to bring in year, right? Those are necessary attributes for your calendar table, right? To do your analytics. For example, I want to see for this particular month how much sales did I make. So for that, I need to make sure that I have columns set up and I have facilitated the respective columns. So you can say attributes, right? I'll be doing that. So for that, I'll be using something called a calculated column. For that, so I'll be using something called a calculated column, and calculated columns will appear once again when you select on the base date column, and you would see an option under column tools called new column. So click on the new column option. And in the new column option, just type out the name of the column. I would say month in this case. Then once again, there is a bit of DAX here. So it's just a format DAX that I'll be using. So what I'll be doing is I'll be formatting, I'll be referring to this date column, right? And I'll be extracting the month out of that with this function. With the use of the format function. So how I do that is I basically select on format, and basically as with other DAX functions, it just tells you what it does and everything right when you use that function. So I will choose format, and I would refer to this date column, calendar date, right? And I would basically provide the format that I want to give. I think these formats are available in the format documentation, so please have a look at that, guys. And basically what you need to get in the month, show the month, is you just need to enter 4 M's, right, as a textual input, and it would extract the month from the respective day. And there you go. There you have the month right now. And afterwards, what you will be doing is you need to bring another new column for year. So I would just keep it year and month. You can go for the date level as well. So I will not be making it overly complicated, but in real life, you might have to go into date as well. So I would be referring to the date column, and I would, for the year, you need to use 4 Ys, right? These formats are available in the documentation, guys, so you guys can have a look at that, and that is available. And that's how you create calculated columns, and that's how you basically create specific calculated columns referring to extracting from date, right? So that's for you guys. And basically, I just showed you how to create calculated columns here, right? So calculated columns are not only used for the date table, it can be used for any other scenario if you want to bring in any kind of logic. But in here, we have the date hierarchy by default, right? So basically, you don't need to create these date, year, and month columns, but just to show you guys and just to show you how it works rather than showing the generated stuff. Just to show it how it is done and how it works, I just developed these 2 calculated columns. So you can see I have how I have extracted and created that. But under the date column that we created, if you just go to the drop down and go to date hierarchy, and inside date hierarchy, you can see the entire hierarchy You can see year, quarter, month, day, and everything. It's broken down and extracted and given by Power BI. So the reason why I created two separate calculated columns from scratch is to show you guys how it works, how these measures are created as well. Basically, it extracts data from this particular column and generates this by itself, right? So this is something. So I did the same thing here manually, just to show you guys how it works, which is really important, right? Even in any other use cases that uses calculated columns. So you can refer to any other column and any other column even in other dimensions and create calculated columns as per your preference. So I will not be going to that extent. So that's how basically something that you guys can do as well. Okay, so that we have created the dimension table calendar right now, and let's move into the other dimension, right? The other dimension is the customer dimension, right? Customer dimension, we'll have to refer that to the source. It's not something we can generate. So we'll have to refer it to the respective source and get the customer dimension and create and transform and create the customer dimension from the transactional database. So I will go to get data, and inside get data, I would click on SQL Server. Right. So once again, I'll do that. Go to get data, drop down, then SQL Server, click on that. And now I have restored my AdventureWorks database into my local host. So what I'll be doing is I'll be typing localhost, so you guys can type in a full stop. That would work out as well. And AdventureWorks 2017 is my database. So I type the database name out, and I'm using import at this stage. So there are two forms of data connectivity in Power BI: import and direct query. And import basically stores all the data, imports the data from the respective source and stores it in the data model itself. But direct query basically is a direct query. The name says it all. It refers to, it queries the source as per the requirement. If there is a requirement, it triggers and queries the source, and it will get the data real time. But it's not really a good thing to like all. There are specific requirements and specific restrictions that you should stick direct query with. If not, there will be certain performance issues, and there will be basically it will be affecting your source as well, since you are running queries every time you are referring into Power BI. So I will be using import at this stage, and I will be clicking on OK. And once I click on OK, I should be able to connect to my respective table. So database. So when I connect to, now I have connected to my database, and I can see my views and I can see my tables right here. So to create the customer dimension, all I will be interested about is the sales.customer table, and the other one is person.person table, so which is on top here, right? So basically, if you guys don't know AdventureWorks, so in person.person has the first names, last names, and most of the personal details. It's like a person master table, right? So since I want these, so it has customer details, employee details, and all that. So and then you have the customer table, which has the respective customer details, very specific customer details, I would say, like the account number, territory, and all that. So what we'll be doing is we'll be joining with this person ID, and we'll be getting in the person details from the person.person table, right? So let's do that. So firstly, select on the two tables you want. So I selected person.person and car sales.customer, and click on the transform option, transform data option you see right in the bottom. So after you click on that, basically You have your tables brought into the Power Query view where you can play around with Power Query here. So first thing that I'll do is I'll put some decent names for these tables, customer, and the other one would be person, right? Customer and person. And I would get myself into the customer table. And what I'll be doing is I'll be using a merge query option, right? Merging means in Power BI, merging means basically joining two tables, two or multiple tables. Actually, you can do only two at once, but you can join step by step and join into multiple tables if it's required. So that's what merge means in Power BI. So let's just merge these two, basically join these two and get the required details in to the customer dimension. So basically this will be my base for the customer dimension, customer table, and I'll be just getting in the required fields from this table so that there will be no problems there, right? So that I can from this table into this table with the join condition, and I'll be basically cleaning things out, right? So that's what I'll be doing. So I'll be clicking on the customer dimension and I would select merge queries option. You can see that in the home tab, combine and merge queries. And in merge queries, you can see that the customer table is selected on top, and in the bottom, you should select the person table, right? And I would now I need, as with join conditions in here, also you need to provide basically which keys you need to join these two tables with. So I'm joining with person ID and business entity ID, and I'm okay with the left join, so I'll go ahead with that. So you get some details here as well, matches with this bunch of rows in this table and stuff like that. So we'll not be paying much attention to that since this is just a demo and I just want to show you guys around, and I'll click on OK, right? So I had joined this table now, and you can see the query step under merge queries. So what I'll be doing next is taking, even though the table is joined in, the necessary columns. Now, as with SQL, it does not bring you all the necessary columns into that table, right? You need to just click on the top. You basically after you join the table, after you join with the person table, you will see the person table referred here, right? Referred right here as a column in the customer table. So what you need to do is you need to click on these arrows going to both sides. I'm not really sure what you call it, so you just need to click on that and basically unselect all and just select on whatever the columns that you want. So in this stage, I just want the first name and the last name. That's about it. So I'll click on that and click on OK, and you should see those columns right here. So I have got the necessary columns from the person table after joining that. And what I'll be doing next is I will be just taking off all the unnecessary columns. So I don't need person ID anymore. So I'll be taking that out. So show ID not necessary, territory ID not necessary, account number not necessary, modify date not necessary. So you can just click on the control key in your keyboard and basically click on whatever the unnecessary columns. And afterwards, what you do is basically right click on one column and click on remove columns. There you go. You have the cleaned up and clean customer ID table without after removing all the customer table, customer dimension after removing all the unnecessary columns. So for this, first thing you need to do is just rename the columns because it looks bad for data modeling. So customer first name and the customer last name. And source customer ID. So since the source customer ID is actually coming as a primary key from source, I will not be using because this is basically a business key that we get from source that is used in transactional that is used in transactional processing, right? For the transactional DB. So for our analytical purposes, we'll be creating a new, right? Basically a new auto-generated key. You call it an index, and we'll be using that in our dimension to join with other fact tables or other dimensions if required. And so to do that, you go to that column option you see right on top, and in that column option you should see something called index column, right? And click on the arrow icon, drop down arrow icon right next to the index column, and click on from 1, because you need to make sure that it doesn't start from 0, because that's not really the right way to go about it. So so it's starting from 1, and you can see we have auto-generated column now, right? Sorry, basically auto-generated column now, and it's actually called a custom key, or you can call it a surrogate key as well. Which this will be used as a surrogate key in the fact tables to basically join it. So we'll be looking into that further as well. So what I did was I just moved that column that I created here to the front of the table, and I just renamed it as custom key. All right. So I have the custom dimension ready, and the next thing I want to look at is basically I want to just not select this person dimension. I just want to make sure that this particular person dimension, since it is only used internally, I don't want to expose it for the end users or anyone else, right? I had used it internally, and I had consolidated this customer dimension, so I don't want anyone to see this from outside. So for that, just right click on this table and click on the unselect this enable load option. So what it will do is it will not load the particular table into the Power BI itself. It will hide it and keep it only in the Power Query view, which is this view that we have been working along all this time. And now you have to get out of the Power BI Power Query view. For that, what you do is you go to the Home tab and click on Close and Apply. So what it will do is it will make sure that it does all the processes and loads the data for this customer dimension. And it will keep this person table hidden, but it will be used for the required columns, and it will be hidden, but it will be refreshed from source as per the requirement. So I will click on Close and Apply. Right. So Azan, we were able to just cover like 2 dimensions, and there is like a bit more to go. Would you like me to like continue this, or can we arrange another session as a continuation of this? Because like I didn't want to rush this. Like I wanted to go about this slowly so that everyone can understand this. Hi. Hello.
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah. So this we have just completed like 50% of the demos now, right? Like there is a bit more to go. Like it will get some time. So would you like me to continue, or can we continue this in another session? Because the other speakers will be should do his session as well, right?
Asif bhai, are you there?
Yes, bhai. I think I have no issue. If Thim want to continue, so he can. It's fine for me. Yeah.
Right. So is that okay, guys? So hopefully I'll try to complete it by half an hour, but it will just get a bit of time, guys. Is it that okay with you?
Yes, sure. For me, I think fine. Aisan bhai, I'm not sure what his schedule is. If there are more sessions. So,
Actually, we have 2 sessions today. One
okay.
in Microsoft Power BI and another is blockchain. And the Power BI session is taken by Thimantha, and the blockchain session is taken by Asif by you. And
It's fine for me. No issue.
if you allow 30 minutes, then it will be.
Sure, sure.
Then we may continue the Power BI session. Otherwise,
Sure, no problem. I'm fine with the timings, no issue. Because my session is last, so I think I have a lot of time.
Right. Okay.
thank
So thank you, Asif. I'll continue with this and complete this soon as possible so that this can be done. So we had created two dimensions here, right? We had created two dimensions here, and let's quickly create the third one. Third one is not like highly complicated. It's similar to the it's actually a lot simpler. I had just made it a lot simpler compared to the second one. So it will be the product dimension that we'll be working on now. So to create the product dimension, once again, you need to go into a Power BI file. And after going into your Power BI file, just click on SQL Server. You can do it in this view or in Power Query view as well. I'll just go in with this view so that you guys can clearly understand like how the process actually works. So I'll click on SQL Server once again. And in here, I would just, once again, I would just type out localhost, and I can go in this direction as well. I can just type the database name and go in this direction as well. Yeah, I'll go in this direction so that you guys would remember this better. But to just let you guys know, there is an option called recent resources you see on top. So you can click on that and access the data source that you are connected into and get the other tables that I wanted as well. So in this case, I'll be just going out from scratch and click. I would click on OK, and I would should get the same list of views and tables as and functions as I did previously. And from here, for the product dimension, I would be referring to a table called production.product, which is the table right here. So I will click on that, and I will click on the transform data option once again. And after clicking on the transform data option, I should go to the Power Query view once again, where you play around all with Power Query. First thing I do as usual is to provide a decent name to the product table, which will be product rather than production product. And so in this case, I just want the product name and product number. I don't want anything else. So what I'll be doing is I would just select on product name, product number, and product ID, and I would click on remove other columns option. So how you do that is click on the Control K and click on the required columns. And after that, just right click on the selected columns, one of the selected columns from out of the three, and click on remove other columns option. So when you do that, you have isolated these three columns and removed all the other columns from this particular table, right? So now it's time for us to like provide some decent names for these fields or columns in this table. So first thing, I'll just rename product as product name, right click, and select the required column, right click and click on rename. And after that, click on product name. And afterwards, go to product number and select the respective column, right click, once again rename and product number. And go to the product ID column and basically right click, and I would call it source product ID, because as with the custom table, we'll not be like playing around this table much. Well, sorry, we'll not be using this key much, since this is a key that is coming in as a primary key from a transaction table. We'll be having a new key separately generated for our analytical purposes. And we had done all that, right? We had done all that. And now it's time for us to create the new auto-generated column, which is basically an index column to perform my analytics with. So I would click on the add column option once again and click on index column. And from one, as I did it previously, and I have the auto-generated column here as well. So I will drag and move that to the right into the front, and I would rename that as yeah, I would rename that as product key as well. Right. So guys, for you guys to know, there are optimized ways for you guys to like arrange these and organize these Power Query steps. Since I just want to demo this to you and make sure you guys understand step by step, I might not be necessarily following the optimized Power Query steps, right? But I hope you guys understand that. And for example, in this case, and even in the previous dimension, right? Now we have two rename columns options, like we can consolidate into one and remove one Power Query step and make sure that at index happens earlier. Like I didn't want to like add the index which is at the auto-generated column for analytics earlier, and I would have arranged it that way. But since I want you to make sure that you understand the demo clearly and go about this very clearly, I just make sure that I added the index at last, and I just renamed it. But moving further, you guys will have to optimize these steps and make sure that works right. Maybe we can do a session in the future about how we can optimize these things and make sure that we get things up to speed. So that's something that I just did. I just created the I had done. So I have created the product dimension now. So you can see there are just 4 columns and product name, product number, and maybe I'll just move the product number front a bit. Once again, not really a good practice, right? You need to make sure that the reordering all happens under a single step, but I'm not really focusing on that now. I just want you to make sure that you get all these features and you basically understand how you can build a solution in a getting started way. Then after that, you guys can move further. And we have basically created the product dimension as well. And after creating the product dimension, once again, I want to move this product dimension that I created into my Power BI. So how I do that? Once again, click on the close and apply option in the home tab. You can click on the drop down option, and you can click on close and apply as well. That's also another option, or you can just click on that icon you see on top. And there you go, you have the product dimension in as well. So you can see these tables that I had brought in clearly in this view, right? I have the calendar, customer, and product dimension. And next and the last thing that I want to focus is the fact table. We'll be bringing in the fact table, right? And we'll be bringing the fact table and sales fact table, and we'll be basically joining, creating relationships with this fact table and making sure that it works all right, right? Yeah, and basically creating measures, and there will be some few, just a bit of best practices that I'll be covering in as well. So yeah, that's something that I'll be looking at. Just a bit of best practices in the sense, just it's a single best practice. I will not be going into the depth in best practices in this session because I just don't want to overwhelm you guys. I know for beginners this might already be too much, right? So just I want to make sure that you guys get things, consume things slowly and properly, right? So okay. So we have gotten the dimensions, and now it's time for us to get the fact table in, and we are referring to the same data source. So I will not be using get data again, right? Since I have already used that data source previously, it will appear under recent sources for me, right? You can see under recent sources, it says localhost AdventureX 2017, which is my database. So I'll click on that, and I will head myself right into the same view that I did after entering the credentials. And we have views, tables, and functions as it was previously. And for the fact table, I just see 2 tables, that is sales order header and sales order detail. So I'll click on that and click on the transform option. And when I click on transform this way, they ask whether you want to import it or you want to go for a direct query. So I would go for a direct query in this case as well. So yeah, basically I'll go for it. But based on your that's something that you should decide based on your requirement, and you should be very careful using direct query as well. And make sure that it does not affect performance in any kind of aspect, and make sure that you use it in a very appropriate way. So that's something really very important. So yeah, so I have brought in those two required tables here, right? And what I'll be doing now is I don't like this sales space option on top, so I'll just take that off quickly. So by the way, I hope I told you guys earlier how you rename tables is when you click on the respective Power Query, or basically you can say a table, you can see that properties option in your right hand side, right? And in that you can basically rename your tables. And under that you have the Power Query steps, which I took you through previously. So in here also I need to basically join these two tables, right? Basically I need to join these two tables. And to join these two tables, I will need to use the merge option as I did previously. So the merge option is right. So how you access the merge option? As I showed you previously, just select on the main table. So the main table is the sales header now, which will be my base table, and I would basically you can use either of the tables. There will be no issue in that. But I would just use sales order header just because it has a bit of less records compared to sales order detail, so that at least we can save some time, right? Some time and yeah, basically some time. Yeah, so sales order header is selected, and what you want to do next is just click on the merge queries option, home, combine, merge queries, and in merge queries what you do is basically the merge queries option. So merge queries as new is basically getting these two tables out and creating a separate data set to a separate table by joining these two tables. I don't want to do that because with that I would be literally repeating my Power Query steps multiple times when the refresh is running, right? So that's really a basic practice you should follow with optimizing Power Query steps. So since this is like it can be easily done, so and there is no reason for me to use the not optimized method for this. The method which uses a bit of time actually and performance, I would using the best way that we all go that we usually go about things, so which is merge queries. And click on merge queries, and after clicking on merge queries you go to you should select the other table on the second table, sales order detail, and after doing that basically click on just select the keys that you want to join these tables in, right? Sales order header, order ID, and sales order ID. That's it. Right, so you can see it's a one-to-one match, basically, which is absolutely obvious because basically there are matches for both these tables. With basically a key in sales order ID is definitely in sales order header. Key in sales order detail is definitely in sales order header, and sales order header key should definitely be in sales order detail as well, right? So yeah. If it's not, that means it's an invalid record or some kind of another inappropriate scenario, right? Okay, so I'll go with the left join here, and if I want, there is no harm going in the inner join here as well, because I will not be like removing any unwanted records or something. So basically, okay, so don't know how many. Oh, that's fine. Basically it says since I just reselected on left outer, it says it can't determine how many matches are there between the both tables, but we saw that previously, so that's okay. And we'll click on OK, and we'll just basically merge these two tables. And it's with it's the same process with the person table, and you can see the order detail table referred right on your right at the lower level, but I am not sure why I'm getting an error here right now. So I have got an error, but let me just not mind it too much, and let me just go for the line total, unit price. Yeah, I would go for the line total and unit price. No, firstly I'll unselect the unwanted columns. Then I just want the line total, unit price, and the product ID. But the rest of the columns I don't need it. So as with the previous table with person and customer, so I would not select that, and I will click on OK. Okay, so there is some kind of okay. So an interesting error to have. What happens here is that these two data, now we are joining two tables, right? It's same with SQL, right? When we are joining two tables with two different keys and it does not match with the data types, it's not really working out, right? That's what had happened here. So what I'll be doing is I'll be going into, so this is text. I would make sure that this is text, and I would make sure that this is text as well. Hopefully that this should sort it out. Let's see how it works. If not, we should be able to drop this and go, which will not cause a massive issue. Let's see how it goes. And I will just run a refresh preview. Refresh preview is used to just for a specific table is to just get the preview data from source and basically run through the query steps again. So it seems like it didn't work out well. So let me just see what I can do about it. So unit price, line items, and product ID, and the error it says is we only support text columns for fuzzy join operations. Okay, so I would just go to merge queries and see. I can't really process what the issue is right now. Okay, so the issue is sorry. So the issue is actually with use fuzzy matching to perform merge, which does not work very well with some merge operations. So I'll just take that out. Hopefully this should sort it out. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so I seem to match combining text parts. Doesn't seem to work out. Right, so let me just change the join condition and see what it gives me. Right, so I will just repeat this step again and see what this error is about. Weird error to have, but yes, fuzzy matching does have some issues in it. Some messy aspects in it. So I shall not go into detail in that, since you guys already might be processing too much in terms of what this session is about. So I would just basically fuzzy matching is a technique that's used to match between basically match out the columns between two tables right, so of the same type, number, text, etc. So I had done that. Let me just go back once again. Okay, so that's the issue. So yes, it's the same issue previously. So I haven't. I should like first. It's just a mess in terms of Power Query steps. First, I need to make sure that they are converted to text. Both things are converted to text, and afterwards, I need to make sure that I merge it, right? So I will go to the merge queries option and merge once again, and sales order detail, matching. There you go. Yeah, I should be okay now. So I would not be going at fuzzy matching. So since that might cause certain unnecessary problems, we are good with fuzzy machine because these columns are tally to tally. There are no problems with this. So any other, we don't need any other additional functionalities just to join in with these two fields since they are tallying pretty well. We just need the right data type. So I would just use the left join option and click on OK once again, and there you go. Now we don't have the error anymore. And I would select unselect, or I would deselect all the options, and I would select on product ID and line total. And yeah, I don't think my unit price is required, so I'll just keep it out, and I would just go with this. Right, so we had created these two, we had brought in the two required columns from sales order detail. And basically what that means is we don't want sales order detail in our Power BI, right? We don't need to use it for anything. So you don't need to load it into Power BI. You can basically internally use it with these Power Query transformations and basically hide it off from the front end, basically where you do analytics and all that, self-service BI analytics, and well, basically you don't need to show this table anymore in that front. So I would just click on this, right click on this table and just deselect on enable load, right? And this table, now this will be our fact table in the long run. So what I'll be doing is I would be just renaming this as sales, and we have the table now. I hope it could run in quickly. Right, so we have the table now, and I don't need this sales order details or anything like that. I'm just keeping it very simple for you guys. So sales order ID and all that is not required. I'll just take order date, and the next thing I would take, the columns I want is customer ID, right? And the next column I want with customer ID would be customer order date, customer ID, and I will want the product ID, right? Product ID is taken from the detail table, so I'll be taking myself into the detail table, and I will also want the line total, which is the numerical figure that shows that is the performance measurement, right? So I'll click on these required columns and I'll click on the remove other columns option. There you go, you have a very clean table now. And one thing you need to do before moving further is to aggregate these tables, right? So to aggregate, we'll be using the group by option that you see in the home tab. Under transform home tab, we'll be using the group by option. But before that, let me just convert this order date to date first. Right, order date converted to date, done there. And what I'll be doing next is I will be using the group by option, home, transform, and group by option. You see right on top, and click on it. And basically, this is similar to a group by in SQL. Basically, you use an aggregation, and basically you aggregate in the columns and reduce the number of rows, so that it will be highly optimized and into the specific level of granularity. So that's what I'll be doing now. So I have this group by settings in here, options in here. So I click on the advanced option, and in the advanced option, I would just add the required groupings in. I will need the groupings for multiple tables, right? Sorry, for these, I will need to, basically what I'll be doing, right, is I'll be grouping order date, customer ID, product ID, and line total. Order date, customer ID, and product ID. I'll be grouping that and aggregating it to by summing up line total, right? That's what I'll be doing. So for that, I will just need three options. I will not need these two. So customer ID, product ID, there is a bit of messiness in the names, but we'll correct that later on. So no issues there. So I'll call this sales amount, right? Names are a bit messy in this fact table, which I don't necessarily like, specifically like, but let's go on since we are already running out of time. And click. So I had basically aggregated this. This is similar to the SQL aggregate group by option that you use. You have basically group by these columns and basically aggregate this particular column with the sum. So you can aggregate it with average, median, min, max, count, rows, and all that. But in this case, the most suitable is the sum. So I'll be going with the sum and clicking on aggregate. Right, so that is aggregated, and the next thing to do is just to rename these columns, right? And after renaming these columns, the next thing I want to do is I just want to look up. Now we created keys for this, our own keys for these dimensions, right? We have the custom key and we have the product key. I want to just merge this, basically use a left join in SQL terms, and basically refer to this particular and to basically get the necessary the generated keys, the keys that we created into our analytics, right? And just to remove this custom ID and product ID off. To do that, first thing, once again, it's a merge. I would go to Home tab and combine. Under combine, we have merge queries option, and in the merge queries option, I have product and customer. So I will click on customer first, and what I'll do is I'll click on the customer ID here with the source customer ID I see in here, right? I'll be clicking on these to basically we just rename this to source customer ID because these two customer IDs are ideally coming from the transactional database, as I told you previously, and we'll not be using that in analytics. We'll be using this customer key with the analytics. So we are just using this to get the customer key into the respective sales table. And now we'll do that and click on OK. And after clicking on OK, you can see that the customer table appears is referred to in this fact table, and I would just right click on it and just deselect on the select all option, and I just want the customer key in. So I'll click on the customer key, and that's about it there. And I'll quickly do the same to the product as well. Once again, you click on the merge queries option, Home tab, combine, merge queries, and in merge queries you select the product table, and in the product table you select the product ID and then the source product ID, and basically left outer join. Once again, it will be referred as to the custom table, and in this reference I just want the product key as well, just to join the both of our tables. So I'll be bringing that in here. So I have brought in the both these keys, and I don't need these keys, primary keys coming in from the foreign keys coming in from the transactional tables anymore, transactional database anymore. So I'll just take these two off. I click on these two and just click on remove columns. That's taken out of the story, and basically I will just move these columns a bit, and the next thing I'll do is I'll rename these columns appropriately. Right, so I had renamed these columns, and right, basically we had created the full fact table now, and we'll just click on close and apply as we did with the other tables. And once you do close and apply, the fact table you should load in smoothly into the Power BI. Right, so we have the fact table in, as you can see in your right hand side, but if you go into this view, you can see the fact table here as well. Two tables had already joined itself automatically by identifying the key. You can see the custom key through custom key is joined, and product key to product key is joined. And basically now we have to do is join date to date. So I would just click on the date field and drag it to on top of the order date, which is a faster way to create this relationship. And you can see that relationship is created, and it is similar to what I just showed you in the ER, very simple ERD previously. And few more touch-ups we do. First thing is that we need a measure to do analytics, right? So how you do that is basically you need a measure in the sales table, fact table, to do analytics, because we use measures in this case because measures are highly optimized, right? Measures are highly optimized and it does not store the specific values in the row level, right? When it's required, it will allow us to slice and dice as per the level of data we want to see the data in. It would not store any data, so it's highly optimized compared to calculated columns. So we'll be using a measure here. We'll be just summing up the sales amount and using a measure here, right? So that we can slice and dice it as per the requirement. So sales amount measure is created successfully here. And there you go. You can see the measure indicated with the calculator icon in the side panel now in your right hand side. And just a few things, very little thing to do. The next thing that the last thing we need to do is we need to select this unwanted. We need to basically hide these unwanted columns, right? We need to hide sales amount because we don't need it and we'll be using the measure. So we'll be hiding that by, you can do it in the data view or you can do it in here. So I'll do one here. So I would basically go to the report view and I would click on the sales amount, ellipsis. And when you click on the ellipsis, you should get an option called hide from model, I guess. Okay, so it says hide. So click on hide and it will hide the entire column. And I would do the same to the rest. And just to add some variety, I would do, you can hide it from here as well, much more easily actually. You can click on this eye like icon you see, and you can basically hide the respective columns or attributes as per your preference. So I had basically hidden all that. And in this table also, I don't want my end user or whoever who is using this model to see the customer key and the business key. So I'll be hiding them as well. And in here also, I'll be hiding the product key and the source key. Right, so we have the data model created and the final output of this session is already created. So if you just select the measure, so we can see when the unwanted columns are hidden from the fact table is converted into basically a table with a measure table kind of thing, right? So only measures will be used from that specific table. With the icon, you can see the difference. And this is actually a calculated table, which is why you see a calculator icon. And these are just regular tables, which are dimensions. So I'll just select, use a table and just select the sales amount. So you can see the sales amount is coming in now. And basically, I would just use, analyze this by product sales. I would drag and drop product sales as well. So you can see the analysis by product sales, and you can also just put in some bar charts and do some analytics with it now. So that is, we have created the final output of this session. Now we have created a data model with the use of a Power BI data set, basically in Power BI desktop. So the next session will be based on basically making this a bit more advanced with the use of Power BI data flows. So that will be covered in the next session. And sorry for getting additional half an hour. I think it's just like 5 minutes, 7 minutes more than that. So sorry for that, but I think it was worth it. And thank you very much, Asif, for like bearing with me. I took half an hour of your time, so very sorry about that. But thank you very much, guys. And please be mindful to give me some feedback so that I can update my content and if there's something wrong, and I can make my content better in the next session. And if you guys can't access this QR code, I will paste the link in the chat, guys. Please provide me with your feedback. It's like really important to like make these sessions much more productive and useful for you guys. So please spare some time and provide me some feedback. And sorry about taking your time, Asif, and thank you very much for bearing with me. Thank you.
No